Well, hello and welcome to another DevNation Live Tech Talk. We're coming to you live from all over the planet at this point. I'm still in Rolesville, North Carolina. That's where I live, east coast of the U.S. But Alex is coming to us today live from Spain, and we're bouncing these signals everywhere. You guys wouldn't believe the live streaming setup we use. We're bouncing signals from my local OBS, from where Alex is. We're using Blue Jeans, sending it out to Mac in the cloud, bouncing that all over the place. So hopefully audio and video are coming through, because we never know if those bits are flying around the planet as they should. So you guys tell me if you see anything weird in the chat. But otherwise, we're going to get going because we have a lot of fun today. We're going to be talking about Kubernetes tools. So if you're used to using Kubernetes and you're used to using Kubectl this and Kubectl that everywhere, then we're going to hear a lot about Kubernetes CLI tools that can make you more productive, make you give you some advanced features that will make it easier for you to build applications. And of course, as always, throw your questions into the chat. We want to hear from you. We want to see you. Feel free to come after us with questions, and it'll be fun to hear more from you. Okay? So we're going to get going right now and turn this over to Alex. So Alex, over to you.
Hello, Bert. Thank you very much. Yes, let's start with this presentation about CLI tools that maybe some of them you already know, others maybe not. So I hope that you find them useful. Let me share my screen as usually. Hope that now you can see my screen. And let me start with 3 or 4 slides. First of all, let me tell you that for this presentation, I'm assuming that you know the basic of Kubernetes. I mean that you know what is a pod, what is a service, what is a deployment, just the basic stuff. Of course, if you don't know it, remember that in DevNation we've got really nice courses, so you can learn the basic stuff and the basic stuff of Kubernetes. So my name is Alex Soto. You can follow me on Twitter or ask me questions also. On my Twitter handle is AlexSotoV, and also, of course, you can send me also an email, which is sotoboy@redhat.com. And let's start. First of all, for some of you, if you are a bit lost, what is Kubernetes? Okay, Kubernetes is a container orchestrator. So let's say that 4 or 5 years ago, that we've got all these Docker containers, but we needed a way to orchestrate all these containers, and for this reason, come to life Kubernetes. Okay, it's, as you know, it's open source, it's working in Go, and one thing that's really cool about Kubernetes is that you are starting managing applications and not machines. So you do not care about where are the machines. You just do Kubectl apply, and then you manage the application to be deployed to your cluster, but you do not care exactly how it's managed or where it's deployed. And of course, if you're wondering why is here the Openshift logo, it's because Openshift is Kubernetes, and we can think about like Openshift is just an implementation of Kubernetes. So why it's important to have a good set of CLI tools for Kubernetes? Well, because there is a lot of concepts that you need to be aware. Nodes, master nodes, or worker nodes, etcds, scheduler, the API. We've got kubelets, kproxies, private volumes. We've got more private volumes depending if you've got several nodes, okay? And of course, you've got namespaces, services, private PVCs for the volumes, replica sets, pods, more pods. So we need to figure out how we can manage all of them, okay? So let's start. And in this case, I'm just using Openshift for your example, so you can see that Openshift is Kubernetes because all these tools works with Kubernetes because they are thought to be work in Kubernetes, but you will see that you can run it in Openshift without any problem. Also, just remember that with Openshift, you've got a really cool administration tool that is a web browser, right? You can see all the projects, the pods, deployments, all the information here, stateful sets, secrets, everything. You can manage all these things from here, but sometimes you do not have access to the web browser, right? And then is when you need to start using CLI tools. So let's start. The first tool, it's called Dive, okay? No worries about the links because in the last slide of my slides, you will see all the links and then you can follow there. So no worries about that. Okay, the first one is Dive. Dive is a tool for exploring each layer of a Docker image because remember that the basic thing in Kubernetes is a Docker image, right? Or an image, right? It can be a Docker image or not, but at the end it's a container, okay? So this is the basic thing, the thing that goes inside the pod. Okay, then let me go to my terminal and let me do a Docker images. what we've got here is a list of all the images that I've got in my Docker host. Okay, and let me take, for example, this one. Okay, which is one image from our Istio tutorial. So if you are interested in Istio, then we also have an Istio tutorial, and this image is just a Quarkus project. Okay, so let me go here, and then I can do dive. And as you can see, I've got here in the history, right? You do dive, and you put all the image with the tag and so on, and it takes some time, okay, because you need to fetch the image, and there we go. So why it's really useful is because it helps you to know exactly what's happening when you are creating your image. Notice that it's here, it's in the left part, you see all the commands, all the Docker file. Notice that it said from Docker image, then I set a work dir, then I copy a file, and then I change the permissions, right? And here on the right, you see all the, let's say all the content that is inside the container. Now, for example, I can do a tab, and I move to the other part, and I do control space, and now you can see that this is the basic stuff, right? This is the base image. It contains all this content, and of course I can go here and see what's inside etcd, I don't know, alternatives. Okay, you see that there is this file. Okay, so it helps you to navigate through all this stuff. And let me go here and let me collapse everything. But what happened when I do a work dir work? Notice that now here at the bottom it has appeared a yellow directory, because what I'm seeing here is that what's happening when one Docker executes work dir, it creates a directory with 0 bytes, right? Notice that I'm going to go up, down. Notice how the work dir appears. And then when I do a copy, okay, now notice that it says that in work there is a new file called recommendation. So, okay, it's copying a recommendation, right? Notice that this is a binary because it's a Quarkus application that it's compiled into a native, right? And you can see also on the right side everything that is happening, okay? And you see also the image efficiency score, the potential wasted space time. It's really low, right? And the total image size. So you can see more information. And then what's happening when I do a change mode? Notice here, okay, that now it's writable, okay? So you can see for every change how this is affecting the final container. That's a really nice tool that when you are getting started in Kubernetes and Docker, you can use to, have an overall picture of what's happening when you're doing a Docker build. Okay, this is the first tool. Now, this is more like a Docker tool, but let's go further. And okay, what about Kubernetes? Okay, the first thing is that, as you might know, you stay all that. If you are used to use Kubernetes, you stay all the time doing kubectl, get pods, kubectl, blah, 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 etc. So you can do kubectl, get pods. And you get all the pods, and it's okay, that's fine. And then you need to do kubectl, get pod, and then you need to copy this, right? And you can do this, and then you get all the information of the pod, and so on, okay? But you stay all the time doing kubectl, get, blah, blah, kubectl, get, kubectl, create, kubectl, apply. And it's, a waste of time writing kubectl over and over and again. So let's move to the next project. Next project, it's this one, which is kubectl aliases, which is basically, it's a Python script, okay, but you can think about like a shell script that creates alias on your file, okay? Now, what alias? Okay, you can see that it creates this K. It's an alias for kubectl. KG is an alias for kubectl get. KGPO is an alias for kubectl get pod. So you only need to remember this alias. Of course, you do not need to use all of them because it's really hard to remember them. But at the end, if you subscribe to any of our DevNation master courses, you will see that sometimes I do some things like k get pods. Okay, because why I need to write kubectl when I can just use k? Notice that if I do k, I get all the default output of kubectl. I do k get kg pods. I get all the pods, right? Okay, g services. I get all the services. Okay, so it's when you are used to use these aliases, then it's really cool to use them because you don't need to write over and over again kubectl. Just That's pretty cool. I recommend you to use this kind of alias. Okay, let's move to another project. Sometimes we want to manage our cluster. We want to, get an overview of our cluster. And of course, you can get this from the Red Hat console, okay? But sometimes you don't have access to the console. Sometimes you don't have a browser. And there is a KNIS. KNIS is a CLI tool for manage your cluster with the style of the state, okay? So let me show you quickly. Let me, for example, KNIS. Okay? To the KNIS, and there we go. This is my cluster. Whoops, what's happening? Maybe it's because of the size. One second. Let me reduce the font size a bit and see if this is the problem. No. What's happening now? It's not working. No, it seems that it's a problem. It's a size problem, but I don't know why. I'm going to reduce a lot. Then I will. No, maybe it's. Okay, what's happened here? Notice that it's taking all the information, but it's not refreshing the content. Why? It definitely worked 30 minutes ago. Okay, let me try pods. Oh, no, okay. Now. Okay, yeah, no. I got, let me do it.
Can you make that font bigger?
Yeah, this is what I'm going to do. Because now I got it. Is that the last time I just removed all the previous run? Okay, now KNIS, and now it goes. Okay, and here you can see all the deployments, right? You see that there is a config service pod, there is a game client pod, game server pod. Okay, then if you want to save the deployments, I just need to do colon, and I do deployment. And I can see all the deployments, the config service, the full game client server, game server. If I want to, for example, see what's going inside the game server, I can just go and it says that there is a pod. And for example, you see that it's running, the CPU that it's using, the memory it's using, and so on. I can just go inside, and here you can see that there is an image. It gives you the information of the image. And then you can start doing things more interesting. For example, I want to check the logs of this pod. I just push L. I can see I can just navigate through the logs. It's really easy. I do not need to do Kubectl logs, something like that. No, it just works. Then I can do escape, and then, for example, sometimes you need to go inside this container to see what's going on inside. So I can do S, and what I'm doing is a shell. So notice that now I'm not in my machine. I'm inside the game server machine. I can do, for example, ls, and there is nothing in this directory. Okay, and I can do ls. You can see that this user JBoss, and I can do here an ls, and you see there all the information, right? So it's a really cool thing that you can use to go inside the container and see what's going on inside. What else I can do, for example, is push the V. Oh, not here, V, and I get the description of this pod. Right, I push D and I can see everything, the limits, the requests, the environment variables, the liveness proof, the readiness proof, and so on. So it's all the information. Also, for example, I can do this and I can get it in the same information, but in YAML form. So if I want to inspect the YAML, I can do it in this way. Pretty cool. Also, as you've seen, I can move, for example, to secrets. And I push secrets, and then I can check all the secrets. And you can do, let me see this secret. And you see that this is a secret, that is the namespace game, that is opaque, that the data is a public key as a key, and of course the value is not here, so you cannot see the secret, right? Manage or inspect all the cluster. Another thing that you can do is just put here and do polls. And what you get here is how, an overview of all your cluster. You can see that there is 76 replica sets, 55 deployments, 2 stateful sets, 6 events, 2 to 4 pods, which one is failing, and so on. So it's another, good thing to check. You, for example, can say, okay, let me check only the pods. You push the pods, and then you can see all the pods that are here, right? They are managed. That's pretty cool. Okay, other thing that we can do, for example, also is X-ray, right? So I can do X. Oops, sorry. X PO, okay, which is pod. What's happening? Hello. No. Okay, it was taking more time than expected. Okay, because it was downloading everything. Yeah. So if you do XPO, you're going to a tool that is called X-ray, which allows you to see all the dependencies of your deployments. Notice that I've got, for example, here I've got a default namespace with one deployment which is called myapp, which contains, some secrets and one pod which is called Quarkus demo, and then I've got another namespace which contains config service deployment, game client deployment, game server deployment with all the secrets, right? You can see everything, and if I push here, you navigate through the secret, and then you can see what is about this secret. So notice that with KNS, it's a really nice tool to be able to, check what's going on inside your cluster. So that's all. That's all for KNS. Hope that you like this tool, because let's going to move to another tool. It's this one, which is, let me move here, which is CubeNS. Sometimes when you need to move from one namespace to another namespace, you need to start doing something like Kubectl config. I don't remember because config or Kubectl config get context and then use context and blah blah blah. So I never remember exactly how you can do that. Okay, what is exactly the syntax? So you can install CubeNS. Okay, and you do CubeNS default, and then I move to the default namespace, just doing CubeNS default. So it's a really nice tool. It's very simple, but it simplifies a lot the problem of changing from one namespace to another namespace. Notice that if now I do get pods, now I'm in the default namespace with my app. Then that's pretty cool, right? And then you will say, okay, show me the next tool, because there is another problem. What's happening if I do k logs of these logs, right? Okay, I see the logs. But now what's happening if I do Kubectl scale to replica 2? So I want 2 replicas. Now, what's happening if I do k get pods? I've got 2 pods, and I need to do k logs of the first one and k logs of the second one if I want to check exactly the logs of these pods. So there is another tool which is called stir, which allows me to create like a tail-like application, a tail-like tool, but for pods. So I can go here and do things like stir my IPP. Notice that my IPP is a regular expression. I'm just saying I want to grab all the logs of all the pods that starts with my IPP. And notice what's happening now is that since there are 2 pods, I can see here the logs, one in blue, another one in yellow, and then it shows me all the log. Okay, of course this works also, it's refreshed automatically. So for example, I create another pod, then you will see here I can do it. Well, let me check if it works or not, because yeah, Kubectl scale to 3, for example. Yeah, let me see if. Notice that now it's appearing the 3rd pod here, the logs of the 3rd, right? And it's in this case in pings, right? So it's another tool that it works really, really well. Notice that now I'm stopping, and notice how the logs are being updated all the time with the new log lines. So Stern is just a really nice tool when you're managing several pods and you want to check exactly what's happening. Another tool, let me stop this, and another tool is kubectl. kubectl is kube context. It's exactly the same as namespace, but for context. I don't want to change my context now, but just so you can see how it works. You do kubectl, then you can see all the context that I've configured, which is, you can see it's a lot of them. Probably someday I will need to clean them up. But then you just need, okay, I want to use, for example, this, right? So I only need to do kubectl, and I pass this, and then I'm going to start using this context instead of the current one. Okay, so probably you do not need to change context really often, but if you need, then you've got kubectl. Next tool that I'm not going to show you because it modifies the terminal. It's kubes1, right? This basically is a Kubernetes prompt for Bash and ZH, which basically, as you can see here in the demo, it's that it all the time gives you information about Kubernetes. So it gives you, okay, you are in Kubernetes with this name and with this context and this namespace. Then if you change to another context or another namespace, then notice that you can get all the time in your terminal in which namespace you are working. Okay, I'm not going to show you running because I'm really happy with my terminal and I don't want to modify it. Okay, but if you feel that you work a lot with Kubernetes and may be helpful for you, then just use this script. Then next tool is JivaSpy, because sometimes you want to observe what's happening with your resources in real time. You can think JivaSpy like, for example, to see what's going on inside the Kubernetes cluster, but also as a teaching tool. If you're starting with Kubernetes and you want to know how everything works, then this tool might help you a lot. Okay, let me show you some examples. For example, here I'm going to do CubeSpy, trace deployment, deploy my app. Okay, so I want to trace a deployment called my app, and notice that when I do this, it says, oh, you added a new deployment, which is a default namespace my app. Now it's the first revision because there has not been any rolling out update. The deployment is available. The replica set is okay, right? It's working. There is one pod and there's one minimum pod. Everything is ready to work. It's pretty cool, right? But now what's happening if I do replica 2? Now notice that how it's happening a rollout. It's saying, wait, there is a modification. Then there is a replica set with 2 pods available, 2 of minimum, and blah, 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 right? So you see both of the pods here. So see that this tool, if you are new to Kubernetes, might help you a lot to understand what's happening under covers when you do some kind of modifications on your deployments. Now, if I scale to 1, you will see that there is containers not ready, you know, it's all there, all of them are deleted, and then it comes again. So JivaSpy might help you a lot on this. Also, for example, let me scale out to 2 again, and you can do other things. For example, CubeSpy status v1 pod, and wait, let me find, wait a second, sorry, because I need pods. Okay, I'm going to do this in this CubeSpy status v1, and I'm going to change the pod. So I want to, you know, monitor the status. Notice that this is the current status, right? This is the YAML. It says that it was created and now it's working and container is ready and the status and the IP and so on. But now what's happening if I do a Kubectl delete pod and I delete this pod? Notice that it says it's modified, and here it says it's changing. Now it's not a started because I'm removing the started because it's not a started, it has been deleted. So of course, then it's modified and it said, oh look, there is another modification. The transition time has changed. Now the status is false. Now the container is on ready, container ready, and then it changes again from a status to false and so on, right? So you can see how everything is modified. Finally, the status is terminated, and you can see here that it's modified and deleted. So it's a way to inspect the changes that is happening in the resources, right? When you do Kubectl delete, Kubectl, I don't know, if you want to do a rollout update or whatever, you can inspect how these changes affect your pods, and you can see all the differences. And now let's move to the last one, the last tool, which I don't use it quite often because I have the knowledge of all the tools. I mean, that all the syntax. But if you're new, then use Kubeshell. Okay, Kubeshell, you'll see that it's really, really nice. You just need to do Kubeshell installed. Okay, now there is a warning, but this depends on the Python version that you've got installed. And now notice that it says, okay, the cluster is this one, the namespace is default, the kube admin, blah, 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 blah. Okay, it's all information. Yes. Okay, and now I can do Kubectl. And notice it says, oh, you created Kubectl, you can just use cluster info logs, describe, whatever. You said, okay, I want to do a get. Okay, now it's a get. Oh, you want to do a get of service, a persistent volume claim, a pod, or what you want to do? Yeah, I want to do a pod. And now, wait. It takes a bit of time because I'm using a remote, but notice that now it's get, okay, and which pod do you want to do Kubectl get pod? Okay, I want to do it from this one, right? So I can do it this one, and boom, it works. That's pretty cool, right? Because you don't need to remember if it's Kubectl pod get, Kubectl get pod, Kubectl delete pod, and which is ID, right? So it's like, Kubectl, you say cluster info. Okay, I'm going to use cluster info. Okay. Oh yeah, it's cluster info. There is anything else? Yeah, there is dump. Okay, dump. Boom. Right. So it's a really nice way to learn Kubernetes without having to remember all the stuff. And then I can do to exit. I don't remember if it's exits. Yeah, it's exit. And then it goes out. And let's say, tell me 9 tools. What is the 10th? The 10th is Kubectl. Okay. I know that these tools might be really cool to use, but remember that you still need to learn Kubectl because at the very end, Kubectl can save your life. Just to finish, as I said, you've got the slides. You can see that the slides, the link of the slides here, okay, which is bit.ly/kubetools1. And it's 1 because there is going to be a 2. And here is the links of all the tools that I've shown you. So all of them are open source. Really, most of them are installed, are writing in Go. So it's just a matter of taking the compiled or the binary version, put it in your user or local bin, and it works. Usually there are versions for Windows, Mac, and Linux. Sometimes only Mac and Linux, but it's something that we cannot control at all. And remember that if you want to learn more about Kubernetes, there are free books in Red Hat Developer Portal. There is the Istio one, Microservices for Java Developers, Kubernetes Patterns, which is a really cool book, Knative Kubebook, if you want to start using serverless in Kubernetes, migrating to microservice database. If you are in the process of migrating from a monolith to a database or to a microservices, what's happening with the databases. And that's all. Remember that for anything, you can ask now questions, or if it comes to you later, you can also send me a tweet or an email. And that's all. Thank you very much.
We do have questions. One question that came up with Irfan. Yeah. I'm not saying your name correctly, I know. But Kubeshell. So how is Kubeshell different from using another form of auto-completion within your shell? Like, could you describe, some of the auto-completion solutions you've seen versus Kubeshell?
Yeah. Well, the good thing is that if you are new, right? If you're new to Kubernetes, you're a new guy, right? Then notice that it allows you to do Kubectl, and then you've got all the description, right? So you say, Steve, display cluster info, logs, print the logs for a container in a pod, right? So it helps you at least with all these the comments. You can also remove this description. There is, I don't remember which is the key, which allows you to not show the description. You only get all the possible valid arguments, right? But in this case, if you are new, you can get in the description.
Does the description include the other optional arguments associated with that command?
Oops, sorry. Cuddle describe. I don't remember. I think that it. Okay. It's not the arguments. It's just that's it. The subcommands, right? Not the if you cannot know if minus f, what is minus f, or what is minus whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always missing what is that other argument? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Dash something. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's a good question. And so another question is, people are very interested in the Z shell setup you're running here on iTerm 2. Any insights into how your shell is set up overall?
There is. It's P10K. Okay. Let me go to the. It's really. I mean, it's the best thing that I ever seen to install. Okay, you just go here, you go to power level 10K, you install it. Okay, well, you install it in this case. Okay, you're using OMICH, you're using Zim, you're using, I don't know, whatever, how you can install it. And then it comes with a wizard. And you can see here that it says, okay, what do you want? This with dashes or not? You want to see this, and you're just selecting all the time how you want your shell looks like. And then when you finish, it comes configured automatically. It's really easy to install. Seriously, you just do P10, this one, P10 key, configure, and then it starts you ask you question if you want to have here the clock in the left or in the right. Do you want to have if you're in Apple or not, or things like that, yeah. Or if you're in GitHub, not that here I'm in GitHub, so you configure at that time if you want to show the logo of GitHub or not. Yeah, it's really easy to do.
Okay. No, that's actually a very good tip all by itself. So some people who just waited here till the end, that's their favorite tool right there, I'm sure. So DJ Maddie is eating that one up as an example. A question, though, from Summers. Summers, of course, is a longtime friend of mine, so I know him. He's actually asking us on Twitch, what about ARM? Have you, and this is actually a good overall question, since MacBooks are moving to ARM infrastructure, is anybody in the Kubernetes community that you're aware of testing their stuff on ARM? Have you heard anything?
No, I have no. I mean, I know that Mac is moving to ARM, but I do not have more information than that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting to me too.
Yeah, I would say that in the case of Go, probably it's going to be easily migrated because at the end, Go, it's in this sense, it's really cool compiler that you can be in a Mac and you can say compile to Linux and gives you on a Linux, compile to ARM, it compiles to ARM, or compiles to Windows and you get it the Windows from a Mac machine, so you do not need to install anything at all. You do not need a Windows machine to do a binary for Windows, right? So this since most of the tools are written in Go, probably there will be no issues. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the world moves to ARM-based Macs once Mac starts shipping those machines and what the incompatibilities are. I mean, we just don't know at this point. It could be very fun. A question from James. What about the OC tool? And that's a very good question. So for people who don't know, OC is the Openshift command line tool, which is a superset of Kubectl. We also work on Kubectl at Red Hat. So Red Hat Engineering works on Kubectl and OC. OC is a superset, has some additional special things on top. Now, can you, Alex, from your perspective, have you kind of thought through which of these things are already in OC or not in OC, or how would they complement OC?
Well, I think that, I mean, from this presentation, I think that OC offers more or less the same as the tool. More or less the same as Kubectl. Okay, from the point of view of this presentation. Then in the future, let's move to show other tools that simplifies. I mean that, for example, you can think about Helm to deploy Kubernetes. Okay, but if you're using OC, you can deploy an application really easily. Okay, using, for example, OC with S2I, for example, right? So in this sense, let's say that OC simplifies one area that we have not covered in this presentation.
Okay. And I see a note from Chris Short here. It's like, ARM is the writing on the wall. It's going to be coming for all of us soon. So got to get on the ARM train. It's going to be all over our data centers anyway. And DJ Maddie also says, hey, I'm already running it on Raspberry Pi. I know Summers is interested in running Kubernetes on Raspberry Pi also on ARM. So there's going to be a lot more ARM activity. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And Charles Stein's asking, is there going to be a list of all applications? And Charles, I'm not sure what you mean by that question. Do you mean all the tools that were shown today? There is a list of all the tools in the slide deck that were shown today, and I will give you a specific direct link to that slide so you have it over here on the YouTube side. And then let's see what else. What other questions do we have here? And I think that covers all the questions I see right now. All right, a lot more people going multi-architecture for sure. Okay, well, at this point, we sometimes run these things for about 30 minutes. I think Alex covered all the ground he wanted to cover today. A lot of fun stuff. Thank you so much for showing us those things, Alex. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure.
Yeah, and if you guys have more questions for us, feel free. You guys have my email address because I've been emailing you to announce the next DevNation thing. Do look for the next master course next Monday with Istio and Alex. That'll be fun. If you've not checked out Istio, you want to check that out. And just to kind of give you a little tip or hint, we're going to be launching something new, not next Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, August 25th. Look for a new show we've been working on. The star of that show is actually in our chat right now. So Sebi is going to be working on some really fun stuff that will showing up on Tuesdays. And we're also working on a whole day live streaming event coming September 15th. So just going to make a mental note of those dates because they're going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be doing some very cool stuff. At this point, though, I want to thank you all for your time, and we will be getting out of here right now. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you.
All right, everybody have a great weekend. And again, email us, hit us on Twitter. You have lots of ways to find us if you have more questions. Thank you so much.